when I heard Heather's lovely voice on the phone saying, "You're going to speak at the national conference," I knew exactly what I wanted to speak on, and I've been so excited ever since to join you. So let's just get underway. I want you to turn to the person next to you and say to them, "You are brilliant." Good. And now, some people, that's a very long version. And now I want you, can't hear me? Can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay. And now the shorter version, I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, "I am brilliant." Right? That may feel a little different for some of you when you say that as opposed to telling someone else that they're brilliant. Today, I want to talk to you about, yes, broadening your horizons, and by that I mean walking up to that horizon line and going above and beyond the horizon. Now, when I think about a horizon, it's a line in the distance that separates the earth from the sky. Would you agree? Yes. Wherever we are, that's what it is. And the earth is all that is tangible, all that we've experienced, all that we know. The sky is all that's not tangible, all that we haven't experienced, and all the possibilities. Doesn't that make you excited? Yes. So when you are looking at the horizon, and for you, I don't know what that is for you, but you know what that is for you, and I want you to think, are you heading to your horizon to go above and beyond it? Or are you staying in the safe and the known? A lot of people are not living what they truly want. Why? Because they don't think that it's for them. They might have tried and failed. They don't know how to make it happen. And today, I want to take you on an expedition that's going to help you understand how it happens so that you can live above that line and beyond. And you will want to run there, let me tell you that. And I have got some notes because those of you, there's a few in the room. Who are the essayers, the Adelaide? Yeah, look at you. Beautiful. I can talk, right? So I'm going to keep myself on track. Does anyone in this room want more? Good. Who didn't put their hand up? This might not be the seminar for you. Because at the end of this, I can tell you that more is going to be on your agenda. And I want you to have your pens out, okay? Because this is not me presenting, this is a workshop. The more that you want, think about it. Is it more money, more holidays, more love, more customers? Whatever it is, I want you to jot it down. And thank you to all the previous speakers today. You've sort of paved my way a little bit. But I really want you to name it and say, yeah, this is what I want more of. And I'm going to go through with you just 3 tools that you already have in your toolbox, in your mind. I'm a mindset coach. I talk about the power of your mind. So you've got 3 tools in your mind I want to talk about. I want to talk about 3 practices in using those tools, and then just 1 mental move that you will actually take with you. And if you can picture yourself walking a journey, it's almost like those sticks, you see people with the sticks. That's what this mental move is. So we're going to talk about that. So there we go. Now, the line, the horizon, it's like an edge. Have you ever been on the edge? I'm sure you can all remember a time when you thought, my goodness, I'm on the edge of all that you know. And all that's out there is unknown, black perhaps. And what do you do when you get to the edge? First thing you do is stop dead in your tracks. Most people look down. The fear rises in us, and then we look back and we cling to whatever it is that we know. And that's where a lot of people live. That's certainly where I was living. When I had my wake-up call, when I got to my edge, And I want to tell you about my edge, actually, this story for me. It was alluded to in my introduction. I was 22. I was living in the mid-north of South Australia, Port Augusta. Who knows? Port Augusta, right? I was 22. I had been married nearly 4 years, and I had a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old daughters, and my husband passed away. Now, that was an edge I'd not seen coming, and literally I had no idea what was beyond that line. I knew what I had, which wasn't a great... I was doing a stock take thinking, okay, I've got a 20-year-old car, 2 children, no career, no money, no idea. Wasn't looking good for me, and I was 22. The thing about edges, though, is they give you clarity. When I was standing there on the edge, I didn't know what was beyond the line, but I certainly knew where I was, and I knew what I didn't want very well. And it was interesting because it was only days before that. I'd lived a childhood that was fairly challenging. I was a shy, withdrawn, low self-esteem woman. They called me Lady Di, actually, when I got my first job in the bank, because I'd look like this, and I'd look at people like this, like Lady Di used to. And so that was me, and it was only days before this event I'm going to tell you about happened. And I was doing washing, because I had 2 children still in nappies, cloth nappies back then, ladies. Nappies everywhere. And I was in there washing nappies, and I was thinking, you know what, I can feel the emotion that I've been shoving down for years. Has anyone ever done that? Man, it takes a lot of energy to keep it down. And now I had this new influx of energy, and I'm like, Jesus, this is getting pretty full in here, and if any of this ever sees the light of day, I'm in deep trouble. So that had happened a few days before. And then on this day, my daughter, who was about 2.5, a bit beyond that, nearly 3, I guess, I was trying to change her and get her organised, and she wasn't cooperating. Now, up until this point, I had been like this, like a horizon line, really, just flatlined. Well, this day, I'd had enough, and I let her know that I was not happy. Well, she looked at me with her big brown eyes straight at me and let me know she wasn't happy either. And she said to me, I just want my daddy. And I can tell you, I've had a lot of things said to me in my life, but that I will never forget. And it felt like a wrecking ball had swung through my lounge room, and I was on the floor with her, and it winded me and picked me up. I got up off that floor and I ran down the passage, because if I'd stayed there, I didn't know what was going to come out. So I ran down the passage, I slammed the door of this little fibro house that I lived in, sort of like it shook a bit, and then I stood in the middle of the nursery like this, and I looked up at the ceiling like God was sitting on my roof, and out it came. And in my mind I'm thinking, and I said, I'll edit it a little bit, this life is not desirable. This is quite a show. And I went and I was ranting because I was so angry, because this was my reality. I was 22. I had no career. I was going to be a home mother and stay in my house and have a family, and we were all going to live happily ever after. And now this, and there was no correcting it. And I thought, whose fault is this? Well, it's not mine. This has happened to me, and it's your fault. And I ranted, a lot of pus came out. Now, when I finished, and I had to sort of stop and draw breath, and who knows who heard it because it was loud, I drew breath, and the last thing I said before I drew breath was, "This is not what I wanted for my life," yelling at that thing. And do you know what the first words that dropped into my head after that was? What do you want? And it arrested me. I'm like, what do I want? That's a novel idea. I don't recall ever thinking, what do I want? I'd spent a life sort of dodging the curveballs, trying to not be seen, trying to pretend nothing to see here, all of that. And I'd been pleasing other people. My husband was 10 years older than me. And when we got married, he's like, okay, let's have a family. And I'm like now? Okay, I guess we're going to have a family eventually. And then here I was left holding the babies. That's literally, right? And so I thought, what do I want? And what was interesting about that was that I'd let out all this stuff that I'd been keeping in, then the question, what do I want? And all this beautifulness started coming up. And my head was being filled with, oh, well, I want this. I'm going to be the best mum, the best dad. The girls are going to have this. I'm going to be that. And I was walking back down the passage, and it's pretty humorous, really, because they would have seen me race off down there like a mad woman, heard whatever they heard. And then here I come back down the passage, and I've got my head down, and I'm really absorbed in what I was thinking, like, oh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to do that. Now, there's a few people in the room that know me pretty well. Kate, if you'd been running alongside of me and you knew what I was thinking, you would have been going, you didn't finish high school. You've got no money. You've got no career. Like, how are you going to do this? But I wasn't thinking that. I was so absorbed in what I wanted. Like, what do I want? And I want you to think that right now. I don't know what your edge is or has been, or whether you're living what you really want, or whether you're settling for what you think you can have. But I want you to think and ask yourself, what do I really want? Because I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, we're not all here forever. None of us are here forever. And we don't actually know. My husband was 32. We don't know. And I say to my children, if at my funeral, if you can hear a noise, it's me going, I'm not done yet. Let me out. I've got more to do. So what do you want? The thing about being on the edge is it gives us opportunity. And at that moment, I had a whole host of opportunities that were presenting themselves in my mind only. I got back down to the lounge room. There were still nappies everywhere, two sets of eyes looking at me like, what now? Nothing had changed in my physical world, but everything had changed in me, right? You know what I'm talking about. And so the above and beyond, it's the unexperienced. And when I think about, people say the sky is the limit. When I think about the sky, I'm like, there's no limit. So that means there is no limit. If the sky is the limit and there's no limit there, then we're unlimited. Doesn't that make you excited? And, that lit a fire in my belly that has never gone out. That's the name of my business. DiLive is about when death comes knocking, it's going to find me living. I'm not going to go to a waiting room for 10 or 20 years and wait to die. I am going to live right up until I die. So DiLive, it's like jump high, sleep soundly. DiLive, right? That's what it's about. It's interesting because my pastor came around, the local minister, in the weeks following my husband's departure, and he came in and he was 65, ready to retire. Like he'd done his life, great life. And he said to me, how old are you? I'm like, 22. He's like, oh, you've got the rest of your life ahead of you. And I can tell you right there, I had respect for the man, but right then, I just thought, get out. Like, I've had 22 years on this planet and it has been a show. And I'm not looking forward to the rest of my life if this is the tone. But what I know to be true is that we all have desire in us. You have dreams and desires, and they are the beginning of what's for you. I know this. My mentor, Bob Proctor, and great friend, we became very close friends in the last 3 years of his life, he taught me and helped me walk that path of knowing. If you've got a desire, that is all you need to know. Not how are you going to do it, not can I see what I need to do that. And it does fly in the face of some of the things that we might learn in business. You've got to have the budget, you've got to see where it's coming from. The last 8 years of my life, I have thrown all that out the window. And I've just gone, you know what? If I have a desire, that's all I need to know. And what a ride. It's like whitewater rafting, and you just, you're on top of the water, but man, it's quite exciting. So I want you to think about your desire right now, and I want you to feel the fullness of it. I don't know if you grew up in households like me, but if I came out with anything ever, which was unlikely for me, but I would often hear my parents say, well, you just can't have everything. Don't get ahead of yourself. Do not get your hopes up. Oh, who do you think you are? We grew up with that stuff. And so we believed it. Well, I've put all that in the bin as well. And I'll tell you that I want you to know who you are. And we'll talk about that a little bit down the track. But if you knew that you had everything you needed, and I'll tell you right now, what you think you need isn't even close to what you're going to receive in order to live this beautiful dream of yours. But I want you to tune into that. If you knew you had everything and everything you needed would come when you needed it, what would you be heading towards? What would you be racing out of this room and going home to get going with? Like, what are you waiting for, literally? Think about that. I was captured by the desire in me, and yes, I had two little people who did influence that for me, because I thought this show stops here and we are now changing the direction. So the 3 tools, how are we going? Rightio, 3 tools. Your ability to think is number 1. Now, I want you to catch that. It's your ability to think. Doesn't mean you're using it. There is a lot of people, I come across a lot of people, and they're not thinking. We are habitual beings, and we can do a lot of things without thinking. I am a mother of 3 daughters, and now I have 6 grandchildren. I can do a lot of stuff while I'm not thinking about it. And that's good. But there's a lot of stuff we do without thinking about it that's not good. And so I want you to tune into the fact that you have the ability to think whatever you choose to think. So you can think above the line. Remember, the line is the horizon. I can think about all the things that I desire, all the things that light me up, and I can focus on those. I can stay on the edge and go, God, this is where I am at. That was not a nice place. I didn't want to stay there. Most of you don't either. That's the way we're made. Or we can stay below the line, in the safety zone, all that we know, all the blah, 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 you know, different day, same stuff. But we have this ability to think. So I want you to call yourself to task. Where are you thinking at? Where's your thinking most days? When you wake up in the morning, is your thinking above the line? It's like, yes, this is where I'm going. I know it's done, I'm going there. Or is it, oh, that feeling? I want you to be honest with yourself. What are you thinking about? Where are you headed? The second tool we have is perception. Now, this is such a powerful tool, a power tool, right? You men, you like power tools? Shouldn't be like that. Lots of women like power tools too. I don't know how to use those so well. But I have the ability, as do you, to select the way that I regard anything in my life. We are creatures with senses, and so we pick up lots of stuff. And in this society, it's hard not to. Like, it's right here, everywhere you look. But how you interpret that, how you want to perceive that, is everything. You know, I often think about a tree. I love nature, and I'm walking along, I'm looking at these trees, and I can see them, and I think they're lovely. And I think if I was a bird flying across the top of a tree, it would look very different. Same tree, different view. And you have the ability to stand up, change your position, and look at it differently in your mind. You have that ability. And you're always doing that, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. Most of us are unconscious until something smacks us so hard, like in my experience, that wakes us up, gets our attention. It's interesting, I went for a loan at one stage for a business expansion into Perth. I was in Adelaide starting a business when I was just under 30, and 10 years later we wanted to go into Perth. I needed $50,000. The bank said no, at 5 to 5 on a Friday. I thought, So over the weekend, my perception of this idea was a good one. Like, I thought, this is a good one. Why can't they see this? So on Monday morning, I rang them and I said, could I have 5 credit cards with a max of $10,000 on each, please? And the bank manager said to me, that's a bad idea. And I said, well, I need $50,000 and you're a bank, so give me a good idea. So he said, come in, sit with the heads of business banking, these 2 older men who I don't believe had ever owned a business. And they sat there and looked at my spreadsheet, which looked fantastic, like the figures said it all, and they were very dubious. You could lose your house. And I looked at him and said, well, that just tells you how sure I am this is a good idea. Now, I didn't know, but the desire in me was like, yes, let's go. That was my perception. So I want you to line your perception up, your point of view, so that you can see clearly the outcome that you want. Because remember, desire is indicative of the power in you to do the thing. Okay? Where there's no power, you will not have the desire. I've got a daughter that sings beautifully. I had never had a desire to sing, and that's because I don't have any of that. She does, and she had the desire. Where there is no desire, there will be no power. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Perceive what you want, and you will receive it. If you keep perceiving what you don't want, you will also receive it. So be very deliberate about the point of view that you adopt. Imagination is the third tool. I love this. I don't know when you last used your imagination deliberately. A lot of you are using it, or a lot of us use it without conscious awareness, and mostly we use it against ourselves. But I have 6 grandchildren ranging from 14 years down to 1 year, and I'll tell you, the lower aged ones are really good at it. So if you need a lesson on how to limber up your imagination, just get with a 6-year-old, they'll soon sort you out. And get that image going. When we think in pictures. So form the picture and allow yourself to go there. Block out the voice that says, don't you get your hopes up. Don't you get ahead of yourself. I want you to get way ahead of where you're at. Run towards that horizon. And it's interesting because as you get the image, it'll cause you to feel a certain way. I don't know if you're like me, but I watch movies and I get so emotionally involved in them. And you can find yourself crying when actually you're quite safe and everything's well, but you're involved in this picture, this movie. So your movie, from your perspective, is going to get you feeling a certain way. When I was standing on my edge and thinking about my grim future, I didn't feel so good. But on the way back down the passage, when I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is all the stuff, I felt different. And that feeling puts you in a state of being. And we are all attractive beings. You are attracting circumstances, conditions, resources, opportunities based on the state that you're in. And I didn't make this stuff up. This is how it is. And you can look back at your life, and like I did, and thought, oh, I can see how this all happened. I can see, because I was in a state of victimhood from a very young age. Maybe I had good reason. It doesn't change the fact. The universal laws are not personal. They're not going to go, you know what, Di's tried hard, a bit of a loser, but let's give her a bit of a break. They don't do that. We are attractive. So here are the practices that I would like you to note in using these powerful tools. The first one is remember. I want you to remember your desire, because your desire is indicative of what you are here to express. The life in you is only good. It's like the sun rays. A ray of sunshine cannot be a moonbeam because it's coming from the sun. The life in you is good because it's coming from the source of life. Life can only be good. It's expression, it's expansion. And you are an individualized expression of life. That desire in you is the effort of the unexpressed seeking expression with and through you. That excites me, and it's unique to you. And so remember who you are, that the very basis of your life is freedom of expression. That life in you wants to be expressed, and you are the conduit for that. Joy is the purpose. We are here to enjoy. When I learnt that, I thought, who's been holding out on us? Like, when were we going to learn that? How many years of schooling did we do? Did anyone ever tell you this? And growth. Now, we know growth isn't always comfortable, but it always leads to more joy. The life in you will not stay stagnant. So you're always going to want more. So I want to encourage you to be you, be free to be you. I am now more authentic than I've ever been, and I can't wait to be more. But that wasn't where I came from. The second practice is focus. When we direct our thought energy, which is what thought is, it's creative. And so if I'm, often I watch my grandkids with their lightsabers or whatever they're called, and you've got to sort of duck because they're like, whoa. That's what we do with our thought energy. Like when you're looking at something that's making you feel ordinary, and you keep focusing on that, and then you imagine, based on that perception, you are creating. Thought is creative. So be very aware of your focus. Hold the image that lights you up. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Like, that's fun to hold an image that lights us up. Why do we insist on spending so much time focusing on things that make us feel dreadful? Because we're taught that, and we learnt that at a very young age. So we've got to unlearn that and return to who we really are. So be mindful of your focus and where you're directing your thought energy. And the final practice is tuning in. This is so cool. This intuition is tuition from within, right? And when I started living this way, rather than from a fear, I'd spent my life running from what I didn't want, not thinking about what I did want. And I started understanding that I have a desire and I have tuition from within that I can tap into and notice. And in fact, that's how I came to be here today. I noticed an email come in when I was holidaying overseas last year for 2 months, and I saw the email and I nearly went to delete it really quickly. And then I thought, hang on, something grabbed my attention. Then as I read it, and again I thought, no, I'm not going to the conference, and no, I don't want to speak. And then I noticed the thought, what's the topic? I thought, I'll just have a look. Noticed what I thought. I've got a lot to say about that topic. What's the application look like? So I filled it out like really quickly and easily. And then, of course, the 30-second video at the end, they said, do that and send it off. And I was overseas visiting my daughter and my granddaughter, and I thought, I don't really feel like doing that. So I didn't do that. Well, 2 days later, I'm walking in the mountains over in Andorra, and I'm up there looking at all the beautiful horizons, and I could not get it off my mind that I have so much I want to share with all of you beautiful people. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just do it here in my walking gear with the cowbells in the background. And that's what I did. And I just sent it off and thought, well, whatever. And then Heather rang me, and I was just so thrilled and excited. I have so many stories I could share about living intuitively. And one of the ones that I will mention was right at the beginning of my journey, my new way of living. I was in Ireland at a retreat. It was a week-long retreat. And right at the last day, the last session, there was a woman that had spoken, like in conversation, and I had the thought, just go and talk to her. And I was still very shy back then, and I thought, okay, I'll just cross the room, and said what I said to her. One thing led to another, and that action that I took from a place of intuition actually led to me speaking in Montreal in 2020, paying off a huge amount of debt that I had right at the beginning of COVID, and it landed me in Canada from January until October, during which time I had a lot of one-on-one time with my beautiful friend Bob Proctor. I will never forget those days. And to me, I think, wow, if I'd just stayed there and not done that, so much is waiting for you, so much richness from this guidance inside. And it's gentle and it's quiet. It's not bossy. It's not demanding. But you've got to have that stillness, not be living in fear to hear it. The final mental move that you will take with you every step of the way is decision. And my clients know, if they say the word try, I get a bit of a twitch. There is no try, only do, right? It is so true. If you try to do something, what is that? You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. When I love ice cream, and when I decide I'm going to have ice cream tonight, I have ice cream. And I don't feel guilty. I'm like, I'm having ice cream. I've decided. You can decide what you want. Decide what you don't want. But draw that line in the sand. And you may have to make the decision, as I did when I started this career of mine now. I had to decide every day. It's like, oh, that's right, I'm doing this. I'm deciding to do this, until it became something of momentum. A decision flips your thinking onto a different frequency. And you feel it, right? Who's noticed that when you've been, I don't know. What if you did know? And you make that decision and you feel so free. Yes, frightened at times, but the freedom of just letting what's in you rise. So run towards that horizon of yours. And when you hear the voice saying all the garbage, just put that down, leave that where you are, and run towards what you want. Because what's in you wants expression. And if you'll keep up with that, you'll feel really good. It's only because you're back here and it's trying to go there, that's why you feel uncomfortable. So run with it. And I'd like to leave you with a gift from me. I have cleared a massive slab of my agenda for the next month. This is a QR code to book a call with me, a Zoom. I'll send you a Zoom link directly to my calendar, and it's a special offer for all of you here at this conference, because I would love to talk with you about where you're at, what your desire is, and help you get going, okay? Because we don't have forever. So now is the time.